better hurry myself up and get ready for story time. Oh, oh goodness. Oh, oh my. Well, I can't really see anything right now. Oh, let me get my glasses. Hold on. Oh, hold on. Oh, oh, there we go. Oh yes, that's much better. Oh my, yes. Now I can see all of my friends over at Little Stars Daycare and Dragonfly Daycare. Oh, yes. Thankfully, Lucy lended me my good glasses so I can see people. Oh, wonderful. Oh, I know quarantine has aged me terribly. Look how my hair has turned gray. My wrinkles have come out. Oh, it's awful. Oh, hello everyone. Are you ready for story time today? Oh yes. Oh yes, I'm glad you're ready for story time. I have a wonderful story today. Obviously, I'm pretending to be a very old lady today. I'm not really that old, everyone. I'm just pretending. How is everybody doing today? Are we enjoying the heat? Oh my goodness, we broke some records. It was hotter where we live than it is in Florida, which is always hot. So that's kind of hard to believe. So I dress like an old lady today. It's been 70 days in quarantine, so I'm dressed like I'm, way older than 70. This is probably closer to 100. I hope I look a lot better than this at 70, but so our first song today is, we're going to do the same song for opening and closing story time today. So we are going to do, it's called Bread and Butter, and it's a clapping song. So here, let me back up a little bit so you can see me, like my nice lady pajamas. Okay, so you're going to hit your knees and clap your hands. Bread and butter, marmalade and jam. Let's say hello as quiet as we can. Okay, so everybody say hello really quiet. Hello. Very good. Bread and butter, marmalade and jam. Let's say hello as loud as we can. Hello! I am very good at being loud. Bread and butter, marmalade and jam. Let's say hello as slow as we can. Hello. Very good. Bread and butter, marmalade and jam. Let's say hello as fast as we can. Hello. Bread and butter, marmalade and jam. Let's say hello as high as we can. Hello. Bread and butter, marmalade and jam. Let's say hello as low as we can. Hello. Bread and butter, marmalade and jam. Let's say hello as nice as we can. Hello! All right, everybody. As you know, I always try to dress for something in our book. So our book today is called Thank You, Amu. And Amu is an Igbo word for queen. The Igbo are a people that live in southeastern Nigeria, which is located in Africa. Now, if you look at the cover of our book, you're going to see that it has 2 awards noted on the cover. It's actually a pretty recent book. This was published in 2018. Now, the silver medal up here is a Caldecott medal, which we talked about when we read Where the Wild Things Are. A Caldecott medal is for quality of illustrations. This book uses a lot of different types of illustrations. It used what's called a mixed media approach. So it wasn't just one type of art. She used, the author and illustrator Aga Mora used cutouts from newspaper clippings and paper and paint and different types of printing inside of the book. The second award is the John Steptoe Award for New Talent, which Aga Mora received in 2019 because she was a new author when this was published. This book actually started off as a project in one of her college classes at the Rhode Island School of Design, which I thought was pretty interesting. So, thank you, Amu. And even if you look at the inside, you can see the beautiful pictures. Like, she's got road maps in here and newspaper clippings. There's some newspaper right there. On the corner of First and Long Street, on the very top floor, Amu was cooking a thick red stew in a big fat pot for a nice evening meal. She seasoned and stirred and took a small taste. "What a delicious stew," Amu said. "Tonight's dinner will surely be the best I have ever had." With that, Amu put down her spoon and went to read a book before supper. As the thick red stew simmered on the stove, its scrumptious scent wafted out the window and out the door, down the hall, toward the street, and around the block until someone was at the door. When Amu opened the door, she saw a little boy. "Little boy," Amu exclaimed, "what brings you to my home?" "I was playing with my race car down the hall when I smelled the most delicious smell," the little boy replied. "What is it?" "Thick red stew." "Mmm, stew," he sighed. "That sure sounds yummy." Amu thought for a moment. She was saving her stew for dinner, but she had made quite a bit. It would not hurt to share. "Would you like some?" The little boy nodded. And so Amu spooned out some thick red stew from the big fat pot for her nice evening meal. "Thank you, Amu," the little boy said, and went on his way. With that, Amu closed the door and went back to her book. As she read, her thick red stew's scrumptious scent wafted out the window and out the door, down the hall, toward the street, and around the block until someone was at the door. When Amu opened the door, this time she saw a police officer. "Miss Police Officer," Amu exclaimed, "what brings you to my home?" "I was on duty down the street when I smelled the most delicious smell," Miss Police Officer replied. "What is it?" "Thick red stew." "Stew," she said, and her mouth watered. "That sounds mighty tasty." Amu thought for a moment. There was still enough to share. "Would you like some?" The police officer nodded. Once again, Amu spooned out some thick red stew from the big fat pot for her nice evening meal. "Thank you, Amu," the officer said, and went on her way. And so for the second time, Amu closed the door and went back to her book. Sure enough, as she read, her thick red stew's scrumptious scent wafted out the window and out the door, down the hall, toward the street, and around the block until again someone was at Amu's door. This time, when she opened it, she saw a hot dog vendor. "Mr. Hot Dog Vendor," Amu exclaimed, "what brings you to my home?" "I was selling my hot dogs down the block when I smelled the most delicious smell," Mr. Hot Dog Vendor replied. "What is it?" "Thick red stew." "Oh, stew." The vendor licked his lips. "That sounds quite delectable." So Amu spooned out some thick red stew from the big fat pot for her nice evening meal. "Thank you, Amu," the hot dog vendor said, and went on his way. Throughout the day, people from all across the neighborhood knocked on Amu's door. She fed a shop owner, a cab driver, a doctor, an actor, a lawyer, a dancer, a baker, an artist, a singer, an athlete, a bus driver, a construction worker, even the mayor stopped by. And each time they knocked, Amu shared. Soon, the sky darkened, the streetlights brightened, and it was finally time for dinner. But when Amu opened her big fat pot of thick red stew for her nice evening meal, it was empty. Amu sniffled. "There goes the best dinner I ever had." Sorry and blue, she sat at the table with her empty pot until... Who could that be? Amu wondered. When she opened her door, she saw the little boy, the police officer, the hot dog vendor, the shop owner, the cab driver, the doctor, the actor, the lawyer, the dancer, the baker. Why, everyone she fed today was at her door. "I'm sorry, everyone," Amu sighed. "My thick red stew is all gone. I have nothing left to share." The little boy tugged at Amu's sleeve. "Don't worry, Amu. We are not here to ask. We are here to give." The police officer carried in a fresh salad. The mayor entered with a roast chicken. The baker brought a collection of sweet goodies. Even the little boy presented Amu with something special in a shiny red envelope. Everyone who had knocked on Amu's door that day squeezed inside her tiny apartment, and together they ate, danced, and celebrated. While Amu's big fat pot of thick red stew was empty, her heart was full of happiness and love. That dinner was the best she had ever had. And here's the card from the little boy that says, "Thank you, Amu." So in the back of this story, there's an author's note, which is a little bit like a dedication, where the author tries to explain some of the things in the book. And this is a very beautiful author's note, which is why I thought I'd share it with you. In Igbo, the Nigerian language of my parents, Amu means queen. Yet for me, growing up, it meant grandma. When my grandmother cooked, she danced and swayed her hips to the radio as she stirred what was often a large pot of stew. In the evening, my family would come together at the dinner table for her meal. If a neighbor was visiting, they were invited. If a friend had stopped by, they were invited. Everyone in the community had a seat at my grandmother's table. While my grandmother has since passed away, her giving heart has stayed with me. I see it in my mother, my godmother, my teachers, my mentors, and the other countless powerful women who have shaped my life. This book is a celebration of their loving, giving spirit. Thank you. Isn't that a beautiful story? I really hope this author continues. Obviously, she's fairly new, so I can't wait to see what other books she comes up with. So at the end of this book, the little boy, who's the first person who asks for stew from Amu, writes Amu a thank you note. Now, the neighborhood center is actually having a thank you note contest right now, and it's open to children ages 3 to 15 years, where all of the children that enter will design a thank you note that for our essential workers. So our essential workers are firefighters, our police officers, our mail delivery people, our IT specialists, all of the people we talked about a few weeks ago that are still working to make sure that we all stay safe. Hospital workers, nurses, ambulance drivers, all of those people. So if you would like to enter, please design on a white sheet of paper or on the template that's available on the Neighborhood Center website a thank you card. A winning design is going to be picked from 4 different age categories, and the number 1 design in each age category, that person is going to win, that child is going to win a brand new bicycle. So these thank you cards are actually going to also be available for purchase eventually. So not only are you designing a winning thank you card, you are also designing something that's going to be sent to our essential workers. To enter, again, you have to either use this template or a white piece of paper on our website. I'm going to post a link in the comments. Make sure if you are using a white piece of paper that you also include a second page that includes all of your information, including the child's name, age, the parent and guardian's name, address and phone number where you can be contacted. We are going to include the child's first name and age on the listing. We are not going to include last names. Make sure that you read all of the rules before your child enters. The contest runs until June 12th, so please start sending in your designs because as of 4:30 on June 12th, we are not accepting any more designs, so make sure you get your entries in. Entries can be mailed to 624 Elizabeth Street, Utica, New York, 13501. All right. So that's all I have for today. We're going to do our closing song, which is going to be the same as the beginning song, only instead of saying hello, we are going to say goodbye. So, are you ready? Back up a little bit. Bread and butter, marmalade and jam. Let's say goodbye as quiet as we can. Goodbye. Bread and butter, marmalade and jam. Let's say goodbye as loud as we can. Goodbye! Bread and butter, marmalade and jam. Let's say goodbye as slow as we can. Goodbye. Bread and butter, marmalade and jam. Let's say goodbye as fast as we can. Goodbye. Bread and butter, marmalade and jam. Let's say goodbye as high as we can. Goodbye. Bread and butter, marmalade and jam. Let's say goodbye as low as we can. Goodbye. Bread and butter, marmalade and jam. Let's say goodbye as nice as we can. Goodbye, everyone. Mwah! I'll see you next week.